Hey guys, you know something? I was getting ready for this week's show, and I realized today is a very special day in my life. It's a day for celebration. It's a day for all kinds of stuff to be announced. It's a day for change. Why? I'll explain it. In the meantime, new opening, a few new things going on, and a lot more, all right here, right now. It's June 3rd, 2023. I'm TC Kirkham, and this is the Kirkham Report. Greetings, vinyl community and music community out there. I'm TC Kirkham, TKR Video Central and the Kirkham Report. Welcome to this week's edition of the Kirkham Report on June 3rd, 2023. I got a lot to tell you about, and it's a very special day in my life, and I'm going to talk about it right now on the cover story. This week's cover story is going to be a little bit personal, and I'll tell you why. A lot of this show is personal. There's all kinds of personal stuff happening that I think you guys will get a kick out of as we go into the next month. June 3rd is a special anniversary for me, and I didn't really think of it until the other day. I was looking through stuff. I'm planning this project called the Missing Years Project, where I want to fill in all my charts, my personal charts, for the years I'm missing between when the original one ended in 1993 and today. And I got disc jockey charts from 98 to 2000 and 2 aborted attempts in 2010 and 2018 to bring it back to Think In too. And I got to thinking, June 3rd, why is that date so familiar? It was 45 years ago on this date that the Kirkham Report first debuted. It was June 3rd, 1978, and I made, it was the week ending June 3rd, 1978, and at that point in time, I was a 15-year-old kid waiting to become a sophomore in high school, living in Harrington, Washington, 50 miles southwest of Spokane, bored out of my gourd, but still living through the best summer of music of all time. And I decided, I can do this. I can do what Casey Kasem does every week. I can make up my own charts. Some of my favorite songs never made the top 40. Well, they did on my chart. And it started 45 years ago this week. Today, June 3rd, 1978, the number one song on the Kirkham Report's very first edition was You're the One That I Want by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. A week later, it would be surpassed by Steve Martin's comedy record King Tut for a couple of weeks, and I was off and running for 15 glorious years. I enjoyed doing it immensely. I still do it. I'm still a chart person at hand. I've talked about that. I collect radio transcriptions, including American Top 40 and all the countdown shows, because I am a chart person. I have a huge library of chart books. Most of the Joel Whitburn library, plus books about Canadian radio stations, Chicago radio stations, a couple of books from the British charts. I'd still love to get the official books from the British charts, as well as the one for the ARIA charts and the RPM charts, Australia and Canada, respectively. I'm a chart guy, and I love doing charts. And I've missed it. I've missed doing it. And because charts were part of who I am. And I'll address this actually even more fully in one of my entries for Robert Z's lottery contest, which will start appearing tomorrow, June 4th, as you see this. But I'm truly grateful for starting my chart, because number one, if I hadn't, my interest and my growth in music would have never been the same. Despite all the people I talk about on influencers, that would have been a different road, I think. I picked top 40 stuff because it's what I love. Now, June 3rd, 1978 was just at the cusp of what became the biggest summer of all time, as far as I'm concerned, in music history, the summer of 78. I still have a mini-series coming up on that. Not sure when it's going to show up, but it'll be up before the end of the summer. Mostly because I'm a perfectionist and I don't want to put anything crap up. But this chart year, 1978, and the following chart year, 1979, I'm missing. I lost the chart somewhere. I've looked through every box in the house when we moved into the apartment 7 years ago. Couldn't find them. I think they got lost on our move between the last place we lived in our house for 17 years. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to recreate them. Because those were fun days, and there was stuff popping up on those charts that nobody ever would have heard of. I mean, what other chart would you find Stay a While With Me by Patsy Gallant on? Now, she was a Canadian singer. I found the single when I was in Canada visiting Bedrock City in Penticton, British Columbia that summer. Where else would you find just the kind of crazy stuff that I liked other than on my chart? It never really picked up the name The Kirkham Report until the mid-'80s, but that's when I started to actually think of it that way. And things, haven't been the same ever since. It's been an interesting ride of life, and I've always paid attention to the charts even when I don't make them. And there are many times I don't agree with the national charts. A lot of songs have become hits that are true crap and vice versa. And a lot of stuff people would consider crap made it too big on my chart. I really, truly have missed making the charts, which is what the Missing Year project is all about. I want to have charts going all the way back. I have number ones going back to 1970, but the charts itself didn't start until 78, and I don't have any of those. The earliest one I have is January of 1980. I have all those up on my website, my terrible handwriting, and eventually one of the projects I'm working on is to get them all typewritten and up in nice form so you can take a look at them in a better way. I had a show called Pop Radio Countdown, which was about my chart. Got some very confused people. Well, I don't remember this making... How did this ever make the chart? I explained, this is from my personal chart. This is not the Billboard chart, not any national chart. It's my personal chart. People didn't get that. They will. Pop Radio will be back this fall. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I really wish I had kept it up. I really do, because it's going to be a hell of a task trying to catch it up now. I got 30 years to catch up. And it's not going to be easy, but I'll do it because I want to, because I want to make it work. It's the way I tick. But it would be interesting to see what would happen if I had a chart now, what would be on it. It would be very, very interesting. I wonder what it would look like. out of the box this week. I actually forgot to bring this up last week. I actually got it, I don't know, 10 days ago. And it did slip my mind last week because I hadn't had time to listen to it. I did listen to it since the last show. Well, most of it. And I got to admit, I am really on the fence about this one. I haven't cracked open the vinyl yet. I also bought the CD, and that's what I got on the computer. But, yeah. This is the brand new album from Def Leppard with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. It is called Drastic Symphonies. It was released on April 26th. What they've done, and I knew they were doing this to begin with, was they've taken selected number of their previous hits and 2 or 3 newer songs and reimagined them in orchestral form. I gotta be honest, guys, the jury's still out on this. It's one of those albums where I'm listening to a track and I'm like, wow, okay, that's interesting, I guess. And then in another one, and I'll listen to another one, and it'll be like, okay. You guys know Def Leppard is in my royal trio with Carpenters and Hanson. I still have not had time to finish listening to this. I'm having to digest it one track at a time because I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around some of this stuff. This is not your daddy's Def Leppard, not your granddaddy's Def Leppard, for those of you who might be under the age of 20. I haven't made up my mind about it yet. I mean, it's well done. No question about it. It's well done. What I've heard is phenomenal. Musically, it's phenomenal. There's that damn it, I'm not Paula Abdul. Got to stop using that word. But it is an interesting eye-opener. The album contains Turn to Dust, Paper Sun, Animal, Pour Some Sugar on Me, the stripped-down version, Hysteria, Love Bites, Goodbye for Good this time, which is new, Love, Gods of War, Angels Can't Help You Now. I think that one's also new. That might be on, I can't remember, that might be on last year's album, Diamond Star Halos. Bringing on the Heartbreak, Switch 625, which is an instrumental piece, so that's probably going to be good. I haven't gotten that far yet. Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Too Late for Love, When Love and Hate Collide, and Kings of the World, which is from, that's from their 2017 album, if I remember right. 16 classic Def Leppard tracks reimagined with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. It is on black vinyl. I haven't cracked it open yet. Like I said, I've been listening to it after ripping the CD. It is definitely different. I'll give you that. Now, I picked up some 12-inch singles this week. And I forgot to grab them. So I'd have been over and grabbed them. From my pal Yvonne, otherwise known as MKT, Mom Knows Treasures. She was on Johnny's auction last week. Yvonne and I have clicked because we enjoy great music, and she and I are both mutual fans of classic Menudo, and we talk about them from time to time. She has been selling some 12-inch singles for sale last week, and I went and grabbed them because I have loved all 3 of the songs, and I love all 3 of the artists, and I haven't added a new 12-inch to the collection in over a year. I bought a bunch from one of the Discog sellers that sells them for $1 a piece, and they were all in good shape and fun. I picked this up. Love this woman. You guys, if you've been watching Vinyl Recall, you know how much I love this woman. Stacey Ladisaw and What I Need, the extended version from her Motown album from that year. She is a phenomenally good, there we go again. She is an excellent vocalist. Let's put it that way. Also picked up the 12-inch single for Pia Zadora's The Clapping Song, which is my favorite song by Pia. Pia is so underrated. People only remember her for the debacles that surrounded Butterfly and The Lonely Lady in the early 80s, but she is a marvelous vocalist. And if you like, she took the last 20 years off to raise her kids, and then she's been getting back into things lately. She is an incredible vocalist. Also, I didn't even know there was a 12-inch single of this available. I love this song. And it was not a hit in the States. It should have been, but it was a big hit for him in Britain. Cliff Richard and My Pretty One. released in 1999, I think, or 2000. Oh, wow, it goes back that, wait a minute, it goes back that far? It does go back that far, 1987, wow. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, because it was on the Greatest Hits collection, which came out in the mid-90s. So that makes sense. I'm a big Cliff Richard fan, particularly of his 80s and 90s stuff. And I love My Pretty One. So that's a great little ad. I didn't know there was an extended version. So Yvonne, thank you. Much appreciated it. And that is Out of the Box for this week. Oh, this is going to be a long segment. I kind of went overboard with Don and Mary's auctions this last couple of weeks. I bought 3 sets of 15 plus 1 singles. So there's 48 things here. And I also bought a mystery box. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But let's go through the 3, the ones I knew what they were, what was in each one of them. These sets have stuff that I mostly didn't have. And something obviously attracted me, because my whole rule is I either can't have a lot of it, or there's got to be something in there that I really want to get my hands on. And I had several of each one, but that's okay. And I was going through them when they arrived yesterday. I noticed a couple of them I do have were, again, different pressing plants, so I'm interested in keeping those, even though I had them. Interesting stuff. The first set includes Herman's Hermits, Henry VIII I Am, The Supremes, Where Did Our Love Go? Move my microphone a little bit here. It's getting in the way. Gene Pitney, A Town Without Pity. I had to look on the backside because some licked put his name there. It's on Music-Core Records. The only other thing I have on Music-Core is Popcorn by Hot Butter. Georgia on My Mind by the Righteous Brothers. Again, on a label I've never heard of, Moonglow. I didn't even know they recorded Georgia on My Mind. That's something. Classic Elvis, All Shook Up, and That's When Your Heart Aches Begin. Also from Elvis, One Night and I Got Stung. Although more often than not, they're in excellent shape, like this one, which looks like it's never been played. This is, again, Stacey Ladisaw, Love on a Two-Way Street from 1982 or 81. Help Me Make It Through the Night, and If You're Gonna Leave, Just Leave from Gladys Knight and the Pips. I picked up quite a few Gladys Knight and the Pips on Soul Records. I've never heard of this label until I started getting the stuff on this. I knew they had been I thought they had been signed to Epic before they signed with Buddha, but apparently not. Baby I Lied, great song from the mid-80s from Deborah Allen. I Believe You, Dorothy Moore. This was the original version of a song which was also later released by Carpenters off of their Made in America album, although it came out in 1978. Haunted House and Hey Hey Little Girl by Gene Simmons. Not that Gene Simmons. He's an R&B guy. This is a black label. I have a blue label of this, of the original. I didn't know it came out with a black label, so obviously it's going to be a different pressing. The Chipmunk song, which is Christmas Don't Be Late, from David Seville and the Chipmunks. Good Luck Charm and Anything That's Part of You. Again, another Elvis. I've gotten a lot of Elvis in these sets. Johnny Get Angry and Theme from a Summer Place. It's the only song I know by Joni Summers. Johnny Get Angry used to play a lot on our full-serve variety station, WTVN AM in Columbus, Ohio. They're now talk radio, but at the time they were a full-serve, news, weather, sports, music, Talk, Farm Reports, all that stuff. Lonely Teenager and Little Miss Blue by Dion. And the picture sleeve out of this bunch was one I already had, but I love this song, and this is in better shape than the sleeve I had. Jessie from Carly Simon, which I believe was her final top 40 hit, or damn close to it, in 1980. The next group of 15 plus 1, start there. Last Kiss from Wednesday. This version was a hit when I was, I don't know, probably 5th grade. Of course, J. Frank Wilson had the big hit with it in the 50s. Pearl Jam had a hit with it in the 90s. Classic Dead Teenagers song. The great Neil Sedaka, Oh Carol, and One Way Ticket on the flip side. Couple more by Elvis. Too Much and Playing for Keeps. And also Hard-Headed Woman and Don't Ask Me Why. I thought this was on Buddha, another Gladys Knight and the Pips. Neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. I think that's the first big hit. Maybe If I Was Your Woman was another one that I ever heard by them. I've been a huge fan of their 60s and 70s stuff. They're just fabulous. Sealed with a Kiss. Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Didn't even know they recorded this. I was familiar with the Brian Hyland version. I think the best version I knew was Bobby Vinton's remake in the 1970s. Stop in the Name of Love by the Supremes. Classic stuff there. Walk Away Renee from the Left Bank with an E on the end of it. Comeback hit that just lasted one song. Rock Me Gently by Andy Kim, 1974. Another copy. I had this, I think last time I got one of these from Dawn and Mary also. Abraham, Martin, and John by Deanne. A reissue, obviously, on the RCA Red Seal, Gold Standard, Pennsylvania 65000, and Moonlight Cocktail from Glenn Miller and his orchestra. Billy Joe Royal's version of I Knew You When, also Steal Away. I think that's the same song Donny Osmond later recorded. Not sure. Connie Francis, Everybody's Somebody's Fool and Jealous of You. Freddie Cannon and Action and Beechwood City. I have always hated this Warner Brothers label. It's just so blah. A poly sleeve for this. 1968. Silent Night and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, recorded by the Temptations. I didn't even know they did that. And this plus one of this group was a 33 7-inch, The Greatest Moments in Sports, Actual Sounds and Voices, and features everybody from Mel Allen and Jim Corbett to Jesse Owens and Babe Ruth. That's a pretty cool thing just to have in my collection. I love little weird things like that, so that's definitely cool. So that's the second group of 15. And the final group of 15 plus one, a lot of classic stuff here too. It's Only Make Believe and I'll Try from Conway Twitty, way back on that old gold MGM. Blowing in the Wind and Flora from Peter, Paul, and Mary. Never Ending Song of Love and Don't Deceive Me, Please Don't Go by Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. Let Me Be There and I can't read the back of it. Maybe Then I'll Think of You, Olivia Newton-John. Return to Sender and Don't Go Near the Indians by Return to Sender by Ed Harden and Don't Go Near the Indians by Sammy Carmichael on Hit Records. This label specialized in sound-alikes back in the 50s and 60s. I have a few of the other ones from the 70s also. Michael Martin Murphey, What's Forever For, and Crystal. By this point, he was just Michael Murphy. He hadn't yet added the Martin to his name. A foursome here, but at 45. From Elvis. Actually 5 songs from Elvis. Jailhouse Rock and Young and Beautiful on side 1. And I Want to Be Free, Don't Leave Me Now, and Baby I Don't Care on an EP from Elvis. Roger Miller, classic King of the Road. Another classic back from the 40s, I believe, maybe the 50s. Fever by Peggy Lee. North to Alaska, and The Mansion You Stole by Johnny Horton, which I picked up because of the stamp on the sleeve. A record promotion by Robert Yokes. I love stuff like that. That's definitely for Record Store Rewind. Don't, and I Beg of You, Elvis Presley. The Naughty Lady of Shady Lane and Audio by the Ames Brothers. We just lost Ed Ames a couple weeks ago. Of course, he was known as a singer and also as an actor from being on Ben-Hur. Daniel Boone, Ben-Hur? I don't know where I pulled that from. Listen, People, and Got a Feeling. This appears to be a promo. There's a drill cut through it. From Herman's Hermits. I'm not familiar with this song, and I love them. I've got several of their albums. Mexico and Hotspot by Bob Moore on Monument. I'm not familiar with this Monument label, so that was earlier. Never had this on a single that I know of, unless I got one for earlier from Don and Mary. Seasons in the Sun and Put the Bone In for Terry Jacks originally belonged to Brenda, according to that signature on there, which thankfully is washing out there. And this classic from 1975 that would become it was written as a jingle and it became a monster hit for the man. Times of Your Life from Paul Anka. That was a Kodak jingle in the 1970s. Now, this is a total of 48 with the plus ones on it. 15, 30, 45, yes. 48 with plus ones. But that ain't even half of it, folks. I also picked up a new mystery box. Let me grab that, will you? Now, the cool thing about Dawn's mystery boxes, which she usually sells on the Deal of the Dawn's auction podcast on Fridays, alternate Fridays. The cool thing about these is that I don't know what I'm getting. They're mystery boxes. She just throws 45s into a box. And this is the third one I bought. And so far, out of the 120 of records, there's 40 per box for 15, I think it is. Starting bid. I've only got maybe 4 of them, and the rest of them have all been stuff that I definitely would love to have it in my collection. There's some stuff I've never heard of in this lot, but there's also a few classics in here that I never had, and I think there's one title in this one that I had. So let's go through them real quickly. Frank Lucas, Good Thing Max, and I Want My Mule Back. I'm going to assume this is comedy. Country comedy, very likely. On ICA, I'm not familiar with that label at all. Satin Soul and Just Living It Up by the Love Unlimited Orchestra. Of course, that's conducted by Barry White. I just got their greatest hits on vinyl a few months ago from Adam at Record Crate. Also, I Belong to You and Only You. This is from Love Unlimited. That was his female backup trio. Classic easy listening / beautiful music. Canadian Sunset, and This Is Real from Hugo Winterhalter. Another sound-alike hit record here. Vacation by Connie Landers and Rinky Dink by the Boots Russell combo or Purcell combo. There's a smudge here, I can't read it. Again, sound-alikes usually, so I'm not familiar with either of those songs though. Dig a Little Trench by Lattimore, who they were out in the 70s and 80s, I believe, on Glades Records. I'm not familiar with this label, but I believe it was associated with the TK label. Glades as in Everglades, from the look of the label, the grass and stuff. And TK was based out of Hialeah, Florida. From 9 o'clock until... and All in My Mind from Lakeside. That's R&B. Far from the Lights of Town and The Fool's Hall of Fame by Paul Anka. I do not know these songs by him on that ABC Paramount label. Star Bright and All Is Well would suggest these are Christmas songs from Johnny Mathis. And then we have some classics right in a row on really old Columbia labels. Singin' the Blues and Crazy with Love from Guy Mitchell. This was a #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100. This one, I think that predates the Hot 100, and so did this. Come On to My House and Rose of the Mountain from Rosemary Clooney. And, I mean, when you look at it, for the it's needs to be wiped, but it's not in bad shape at all. I mean, these are 60, 70 years old, these records. Use Your Imagination and When or Where by Joe Stafford. Another classic from that era. Love this song, always did. Never seen it on the original label. It's always been on the hits labels when I've seen it in stores. Goodbye Cruel World and Valerie by James Darren. This is on the Colpix label. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Colpix was the predecessor to Coal Gems, which later was best known for Monkey stuff. Colpix also had Paul Peterson and Shelley Fabre from the Donna Reed Show on it. Magic Town and Humpty Dumpty by the Vogues. I don't know either one of these songs. I know who the Vogues are. CO and CE Records. Again, I'm getting all these labels I've never heard of. I love that. Gives me plenty of research to do. This is the one thing I do have in my collection already. Casanova by Levert. Great song. That may pop up on Obscuria one of these days. That's a great song for Obscuria. I Wonder and My Whole World is Falling Down from Brenda Lee. Classic Decca. I Don't Want to Love You and Over and Over. The artist's name is Barry Lee Show. I'm not familiar with him at all. It is on Independence Records. Not familiar with that label either. God, I love these. These are so cool. It gives me so much stuff to look through. Maze and Running Away and Family. That would be from probably the mid-80s. Did You Cry and Click Clack by Dickie Doo and the Don'ts on Swan. That's the I think that's pre-Beatles. White was pre-Beatles, because I had a Beatles single of She Loves You that was on Swan, and it was a black label. I don't think I still have it. Down at Papa Joe's and Rock, Rock, Rock by the Dixie Bells on Sound Stage 7 or Sound 7 stage. You Don't Have to Be a Baby to Cry and The Last One to Know from the Caravels. I don't know them at all. I don't know a lot of these. This is what's going to be fun. I've never heard of these. I'm going to be like doing research on these forever. Let's Go, Pony, in parentheses, and Mashy by the Routers. I'm thinking these could be instrumental versions of songs that were used for the Pony and stuff in the 60s. I don't know the Routers at all. I'll have to look that up. This one, this is a gold mine for me. This is Aldi Law and Sassy, the original hit in America from Emilio Pericoli. Aldi Law was a 1963 entry in the Eurovision Song Contest. When I did my Eurovision off the charts, 3 different versions of this song hit the American charts, and his was the biggest. I only heard it that morning, so I've never had the record. I was ecstatic to get this, too. The Writing on the Wall and Point of No Return by Adam Wade. I don't know if you guys know who Adam Wade was. He had a couple of hits in the early to mid-1960s. I knew him as the first ever black game show host. He hosted a show called Musical Chairs in the summer of 1975. and it was a great show. And I have one other record by him. I love his singing. His voice is so smooth and amazing. He was the perfect host for Musical Chairs. If you've never seen it, there's an episode on YouTube. It's dorky by today's standards. It is, almost 50 years old, but Musical Chairs was an interesting, guess the song type of show. You, and Once Upon a Tune by the Ames Brothers. Had this on an album, do not have the single. Long Lonesome Highway and Mountain High from Michael Parks. At the time this came out, he was starring in NBC's Then Came Bronson. Of course, he became kind of a legend over the years as a top-notch, easy to count on character actor. Dream Merchant and Why Did I by New Birth. I'm not familiar with the song. I believe New Birth is an R&B act. The name is familiar, sort of. Another cool, unexpected Grail Dawn. Popcorn Love and Jealous Girl from Boston's very own New Edition on Streetwise Records. That was the first single, as a matter of fact, the very first song they did. The Tequila Twist and Limbo Rock from the Champs. This was on Challenge Record, distributed by Warner Brothers. It says in big lettering on the side. Never heard the Tequila Twist. That's going to be interesting. I can't imagine tequila being in a Twist song. I'm Available and If You Were by Margie Rayburn. If a Man Answers and A True True Love from the always awesome Bobby Darin. Twisted Up and Surf Party from legendary Chubby Checker, king of the Twist songs on Parkway, the Cameo subsidiary he recorded for. And Suddenly and Imagination by a group called the Cherry People on Heritage Records. I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this label. I have no idea who the Cherry People are. I'm going to have so much fun with this, Dawn. Terry and The Things I Mustn't Do by Brian Davies on Hanover. Hanover, the only thing I ever see on Hanover Records was Uh-Oh by the Nutty Squirrels. I don't know how big of a label they were in the 60s. Volare and Looking Back, this Ace Cannon's version of that. Label's a little loose here. I want to be careful with it. On High Records. Don't Fence Me In and You Are My Sunshine by Ernie's Nutty Guitar. Excuse me. On Heartbeat Records. I don't know that one at all. Empty Arms and Sunday Blues, another great from great Ace Cannon. Put those aside for a second. Shortening Bread and Nicotine by Paul Chaplin. I have to assume these are from the 40s, maybe. Breakaway from That Boy. And Hey Oh Daddy Oh from the New Beats. I have one of their albums, or I had one of their albums. I don't know if I still do or not. Run Baby Run. And two records from, I think it's Hector or Hoctor Records, a division of Dance Records. These are obviously made for ballroom dancing or something. There's no artist listed on either one of these. When the Saints Go Marching In and The Beat Goes On the first one. And the Rainbow Ballerinas, vocal and instrumental. Vocal does not say who did it here. And it is marked as for Baby Ballet. Dawn, what another gold mine. Thank you for this. Love these mystery boxes. I'm finding so much crazy stuff I haven't seen before. Well, there'll be plenty more, I'm sure, in the weeks ahead. Thank you, Dawn and Mary. And looking forward to checking these out. got a question for you guys. This is strictly technical. I bought a Logitech Brio camera about a year ago, and I've been doing pretty good with it, but I want to raise it up to 1080. I got the new computer here back in February, and it does great stuff, although it's slowing down. I got to find a good register cleaner to get it cleaned up a bit. But every time I try to switch the Brio from 780 or 720, whatever it is, to 1080, I lose my audio. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Every time I tried to switch it again to 1080 this week because I wanted to have that new higher resolution for the new season, basically, of summer season of TKR, and it didn't work. So I had to switch it back. I had to restart, do all rigmarole, lots of swearing going on. So I have a Logitech Brio. If you guys know what I'm doing wrong or could advise me, I'd appreciate it. I use what do I use? UCam for my camera work, and it doesn't pick up the volume, or I can't hear it. I don't know if I can hear it until after I get done. I always check the volume so I make sure it's working, and it wasn't working, at least not where I could hear it, and I tried switching headphones, and I did everything. I couldn't hear it. So if you guys could tell me what I might be doing wrong, what I need to set properly. My current computer is a Windows 11 gaming computer from Legend. Let me know. Put it in the show notes, email me, whatever you'd like to do, but I could use your assistance in getting it fixed, because I'd really like to go up to 1080. So let me know if you know what I might be doing wrong. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Robert, and I am coming on here to get this process started regarding the lottery for this year.
And all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that would make it okay. There's always some reason to feel not good enough. And it's hard at the end of the day. I need some distraction. Oh, beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins. Let me be empty. Oh, weightless, and maybe I'll find some peace tonight. In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear. You are pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here.
Well, this anniversary is really special for me. 45 years of the Kirkham Report. Off and on. Yeah, the first one, I know it's been away for a while, but it is coming back, as I mentioned in that promo. But I have a lot of other new stuff on the boards. Most of it's going to premiere this month, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. First off, the much postponed debut of Label Nova. It was supposed to be on yesterday, but I didn't have time to do it because work was crazy and I had doctor's appointments earlier in the week. Label Nova is not going to be a long show. It's going to be probably 20 to 30 minutes each week. Each other week, it's going to be a bi-weekly show. And it's going to look at smaller labels from the 70s, 80s, 90s that had some big hits and then came and went pretty quickly. The first show is on Chelsea Records, which was around from 1972 to 1978, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have some needle drops for you, hopefully, on each show of some of the bigger hits. And that's going to be fun to do mostly because I love the history of labels. I've gone through a lot of them on Wikipedia. Chelsea, for example, was owned and operated by Wes Farrell, who is best known as the Partridge Family's producer. I still haven't figured out why both of his labels were named after Boston cities when he's in Florida. He was in Florida. I'll go into that more in depth on the first show, but so it'll be fun. That's why you notice when I go through the Don and Mary 45s, how fascinated I am with labels. I love it. I love label artwork. I love the history of the record labels. I'd love to have my own record label. But that is not going to be happening unless I have a rich uncle leave me millions of dollars, which I don't think is going to happen because I don't have a rich uncle. In any case, Label Nova hopefully will premiere this Friday, if not next Friday. It's going to be alternating with another new show I've been working on for several months, compiling and researching on. A show called Too Soon. And it's basically going to be a biography type show, just me talking about it, of course, like I usually do. Me, TC, the talking head, about artists who have passed on too early. There's many. I mean, I could talk about Karen Carpenter for ages, but that's probably not what I'm going to do because I want to bring these artists to your attention because you may never have heard of them. They were smaller artists. They had stuff that attracted me that I loved. They may have had one or two hits out there, but they ultimately died very young, and I want to bring those people to you. They were a part of my life, and I enjoyed them, and the first couple of shows are going to be on Phil Seymour, who was a member of the Dwight Twilley Band in the 70s and had his own solo career in the 80s. And a gentleman named Roger Voudouris. Many of you don't know Roger. He had one minor hit in 1979 called Get Used to It. But I have his whole collection except for one album that he had, a duet album. He was a duo of Voudouris and Kane. And I don't have the second one yet, but I've got all the other stuff. I love him. And I'll be talking about him on that show too, and a number of other artists as well. So those two shows will be alternating on Fridays when they premiere. And it'll be fun to do. I've been looking forward to doing this for a while. The other new thing I've already talked about, the Kirkham Report Power Tracks 50 Countdown will premiere next Saturday. It will be airing at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And it's just going to be just like Radio Retro, only with my top current 50 songs. Quick little snippets of each one. And it's designed to show off my chart and also designed to get you interested in hearing some of the music. And I think it'll be fun. Pop Radio Countdown, which highlighted older versions of my chart, will be back. I think I'm aiming for September, but it might be back a little bit sooner than that. We'll see. Because those shows are, everything I do, those shows are the hardest to edit because I have to get clips of every song and put it together. I have a pattern. I get in a good pattern. It only takes me about 2 hours to do one, but that's a long time. That doesn't include downloading and stuff. That's just editing. But I enjoy doing those, and I get a lot of feedback from Radio Retro, which I'm really happy about. And I enjoy picking a different radio station and a different time every week for those, and that's always fun. There will be a supplemental show to the Kirkham Reports classic stuff coming up probably in July. I think it'll probably premiere in July. It's called Through the Years. And what I'm going to do, Kim helped me pick out the name. I was like, oh, duh, that's a great idea. I started doing my chart on June 3rd, 1978, the first date. But when I did my chart, I went back and did the research. I grabbed the original edition of Joel Whitburn's Billboard Top 40 Hits and picked out what I would have had as my number one song every week beginning the first week of January 1970. So starting in the not too distant future, Through the Years will be another quickie countdown type show. And on those shows, I will take you through all of the number ones on the Kirkham Report chart, beginning January 1970, right on through. The goal is to have, my goal is to have this first series of shows go through the end of the 90s, but I have to catch up the 90s charts first. But I'll have 20, 23 weeks to get them done. And I don't know if that's going to be possible. But it will start, and each show will be a different year, and all the songs that hit number one on the Kirkham chart will be given in chronological order. You'll be surprised at some of them. And the dates aren't always right, because the date it debuted sometimes would be number one, because I didn't get how the book worked at the time. So, but, it's still my chart. It's my chart. Everything is my chart, because that's where I come in from. That's where I come from. That's the beat I come from. Through the years, I think will premiere in July or late June. It should be soon. I have lists going through 1993, and then I will go forward from there. And then after I get that done, the goal is to do 10 weeks a year with the 2000s, the 2010s, and eventually the 2020s. I have a lot of ambition and very little time, unfortunately. I'm also... And I've been planning this for about 6 months. I've had the prototype done since January or February. I did it on the old computer. A trivia show, and it's going to be like a lot of them that are out there. I watch a guy called Mad Mardigan. Kim and I always play his trivia games every week. That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be a challenge. Not going to be any prizes. It's going to be for you to watch, identify the songs, count up your scores, and enjoy it. It'll be fun. The problem is that one also is going to take quite a bit of editing, the way I have it envisioned. But hopefully I'll get it up and running before the end of the summer. I'm still formatting it. I'm still working on different ideas for formatting. But that trivia show, whatever its title will be, you'll see promos for it before it premieres. And hopefully you will be a part of it and enjoy it and have fun playing it every week. The other big thing is the revamp of the site. I don't know how many of you have taken the time to visit my website, thekirkhamreport.com. It doesn't have a lot going on it. I don't do a lot on it, unfortunately, right now. But that's about to change. I'm going to be revamping the look of the site. I'm going to be revamping what I do over there. It automatically pulls all the YouTube videos over. But I have a few other things to do, and I'm also going to be doing the same thing with Record Store Rewind, which is a affiliated channel. We're going to have several affiliated channels to the Kirkham Report. But the website is where I started. It started when I was when I was at discjockey.com. It was called radiotc.com. And it became the Kirkham Report after Disc Jockey shut down in 2000, and that's what it's been ever since. I have all kinds of interesting plans for over there, and I hope you'll take the time to visit my website and check it out. It eventually is going to include a couple of other sites that will be databases, per se, of certain musical things. I'd like to do a Eurovision database. I'd like to do a wrestling music database, and by that I mean not theme songs, although that could be a part of it. But so many pro wrestlers are involved with music and have released albums, and some of them are damn good, that I want to have a database where people can go find them. Not all of them are Macho Man's Be the Man, that was a huge commodity on Record Store Day, which I really doubt people have listened to. There's some good stuff out there. And I'd like to get a database of all that put together, too. And I've been working on that database for 3 years. And just picking up bits and pieces as we go along. That will also be a part of the Kirkham Report, but there'll be its own associated site. Finally, my biggest goal is to relaunch my radio station. For many years, I had my own radio station. We had several radio stations, actually, on live365.com. We had the ones associated with Subject Cinema, which were Marquee Mix, Marquee Classics, and Marquee Scores, which were all movie songs. And I also had TKR Radio. They all ended around 2012. We just couldn't afford them anymore, and they weren't getting much listeners. But I do ultimately want to relaunch Radio TKR or TKR Radio, which would be a top 40 station with TC sensibilities. In other words, my chart would be where it comes from. You're not going to hear a lot. I can guarantee you will hear no Taylor Swift. I can also guarantee you will probably hear very little Justin Bieber. But it will be songs that I love, and there'll be classic stuff too. Problem is, with the way that the industry has changed since we last did it, I'm going to need licenses. So, to that end, I'm looking at different ideas for obtaining licenses. Because I will need them. I want the network to air in the United States, Canada, and the UK at the very least. Each country has its own licensing bodies, and that can get expensive. So I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I would like to make it happen by the end of the summer, or at the very latest, the end of the year. And I can make some money on that with advertising and stuff. And right now I'm at a point where I could retire from work if I could make enough money on the side. And I'd really love to retire from work, especially since what I do is going to be badly affected by a new law that takes effect on July 1st here in Massachusetts. But I don't know if that's going to be happening. And I know everybody out there always, pitches a bitch and moaning, groaning. Oh, why are you asking for memberships? Why are you asking for Patreon? For me, it's still going to be a hobby, but it could become a full-time gig if I have people interested. It would be helpful, but I know, it's not going to be necessary. I will also leave it so you can, if you want to be a part of it, you can be. But if you don't want to be, then you won't have to be, and you won't get me incessantly plugging it. But the Patreon is coming, and a few other things are coming. Just wanted to let you know about in advance. And I have a few other things up my sleeve too. These are just the things that I've gelled and actually got into my planner. By the way, in addition to the question of the week, I'm looking for a decent online planner where I can do and take extensive notes on projects. And I keep trying out all these sites, and they just don't do what I want. Trello and Monday.com and all these. If you guys know of one or know of a software program I can download for free, I'd love to hear from you on that. In any case, I have a big ride planned, and I hope that you'll jump on board. I hope you'll come on board. I hope you'll spread the word. Of course, I will be doing my annual contest at some point, probably in July, because, well, I'll probably wait till Robert's lottery is over, because I don't want people to have to do so many things at once. And my contests usually happen around my anniversary date for the BC, which is in July. And again, I always have fun. I try to come up with something really cool. Last year, I got over 100 entries, which blew my mind. Thank you so much, Vinyl Richie. I hope that'll happen again. And I want to get up over 500. I was almost there, and then I slipped down, and I'm edging up slowly again. But I want to get over 500, and I want to stay over 500, and then we can really go crazy. But in any case, I just want to let you know some of the stuff to look forward to and what's coming up in the future. Unfortunately for Glenn Kellaway, I will be doing some shorts in the near future. Promos mostly for my shows. Oh God, not shorts, no. But just I want to get the word out there for people who haven't heard of me. It's that simple. And although I have avoided TikTok like a plague, I do have an account over there, but it's just for watching people. I haven't posted anything, and I don't know that I'm going to. We'll see. In any case, I invite you to come along with me for the ride. You want to be a supporter when, Patreon and the new swag shop goes online, that'd be great. But if you don't, it's not a big deal. I definitely would appreciate it, but it's not necessary. There's a lot of great things coming as I can afford them, and I hope you will be a part of them. And that is a little look inside the booth and what we've got planned for the next few months. In case you haven't noticed, Robert Z is running his 2023 Vinyl Community Lottery right now. It's going to run through the month of June. You really need to be out there and have fun. Robert's asking a series of questions. He's up to 5 so far. There's going to be a total of 12, according to him. I will begin posting my responses later, probably tomorrow, and throughout the next week or so. He also needs volunteers. He'd like to get up to the 26 number he usually has. He's got 20 at the moment. You can volunteer by getting in touch with Robert Z at his channel, Robert Z2. And you can also, when you do enter, make sure you use hashtag 2023 VC Lottery. That makes it easy for Robert to find them. And he's putting them all on a playlist. Because of the way he's doing it, there's going to be multiple entries from multiple people most of the time. So you want to check it out. And the lottery is awesome because the winner of that lottery is going to get a gold mine of stuff from the volunteers. I'm a volunteer. I've been a volunteer every year. I've been in the vinyl community. And it's just really fun to do. The questions are always fun. And the drawing is always fun. I would love to win some year because every volunteer, and the ultimate goal is 26 because there's a letter for each of the alphabet, but there's also others if he goes beyond 26. So if you're a former volunteer and haven't volunteered yet, or you didn't know what was going on, now you do. Get over there, call, write, fly, teleport, get involved with Robert Z's lottery, become a volunteer, because we want Robert to have a happy face, right? I look forward to seeing everybody else's entries too, because those are always a blast. Make sure you enter Robert Z's 2023 lottery. In the back pages this week, a little bit of personal stuff again. If you're not from Boston, you're not going to know the name, but Bob Bittner passed away the last week. Bob Bittner is a radio legend in Boston. For the last 30 or so years, he ran WJIB AM from his home in Maine. It simulcast on 2 main stations and on a repeater in Cambridge, Massachusetts. WJIB was completely community sponsored. He took no ads. And it was on the air, and they also had an FM frequency later, but was not streaming, unfortunately. Robert did it all. He picked the songs, he did the voiceovers on the songs, he did commentary. He was quite a man. And WJIB was one of the funnest stations around. You heard music that Robert wanted you to hear. That's basically what it was. Robert's choice of music. Robert's version of the Kirkham Report. I think that's why I fell in love with the channel so early on. He played music usually from the 1930s through the 1960s, according to the Boston Globe. It's actually the 1970s. And it was an all-over-the-road mix. And it was always fun and exciting. He was a one-of-a-kind. And I mean, he's obviously a shrewd businessman because that's all he did. Like I said, they took no ads. It was completely community supported. And the Memories Station, as it was known, was famous in Boston. It still is. It's going to continue on for at least the next few weeks. I'm not sure what they're going to do now that Bob's passed on. I think it would be a loss. But I also think it won't be the same without Bob. He was the person behind it. He was the magic that made WJIB what it was. I want to wish my heartfelt sympathies and condolences to his family and friends. He was quite the character on the air. And you couldn't be mad at him even when he made he made some pointed commentaries and then he'd go right back into his songs. And people would I can't stay mad at him even if their political views were different or whatever. Bob was just that kind of guy, and the music that he produced on WJIB was that kind of music. I remember the first time I ever heard it, I was in a cab here in Revere. The cab driver was playing it, and he was playing The Happiest Girl in the Whole USA by Donna Fargo. I hadn't heard that song on the radio in 50 years. I love that song. It's one of my favorites from my childhood. And I, unfortunately, could not pick up WJIB at home. I couldn't pick it up on the I could pick it up when we were out in an Uber, but I couldn't pick it up on my stereo. I couldn't pick it up on the portable. It just was hard to get. But it was worth every second of the time you spent listening to it. I mean, I've heard everything from Rosemary Clooney to Simon and Garfunkel to the Partridge Family to Miko on his channel. He played the Star Wars theme quite frequently. And it was amazing. It was the kind of radio my late boss, Rich Chadwick from DiscJockey.com, would have called train wreck radio. And we both loved it. We still love it. In fact, a lot of the times, Radio Retro Countdown is all about train wreck radio and the kind of crazy songs these stations were playing at the same time. Bob will be sorely missed in the radio community in Boston, and that channel, if it should go off the air, which I'm getting the feeling they are going to take it down eventually, will really be missed. WJIB was a breath of fresh air in the Boston radio scene, and Bob Bittner was the fresh air of the entire New England radio scene. He will be truly missed. Bob, thank you for making your memory station part of my memories. Man, this has been a long-ass show. I'm so sorry. Before I go, let me remind you that this coming Monday, June 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern, live on Two Hip Chicks and TKR Video Central, Dawn and I will be back with a new episode of Finding Your Music Mojo. We're each going to discuss our 5 biggest influencers. Dawn knows that I do a show called Influencers, and has suggested we pick our 5 and talk about the songs and the music that led you to becoming a big fan. So that's what we're going to do, and I hope you'll join us in the lively chat we have every week. It's so much fun, and hopefully it will be of your liking. That's Finding Your Music Mojo with TC and Dawn, Monday, June 5th at 6 p.m. live Eastern Time, 3 p.m. live Pacific Time, and we hope you will be there. There's a lot going on in the future, and I'll have a lot more as the months ahead goes on. As I said, with all these other projects, I'm also still finishing up the tail end of Summer of 78, my 10-part miniseries about that glorious summer of music. I was aiming for July 4th weekend after I canceled it last year. I don't think it's going to be possible. I'm thinking it's going to be Labor Day weekend instead. We'll see. But I really want everybody to think that this is really something special, and to remember these songs of the summer of 78 that were so perfect, that made that the perfect radio summer for me. It really is a legendary year, and if you go back and look at what came out in 1978, you'll go, wow, TC wasn't kidding. He's right. Look at all these legendary songs that were out. That'll be coming up, as well as all the other new stuff I've talked about on this show. Most of all, I thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And if you have, thank you. I couldn't do this without you. And I'll talk a little bit about that on Robert Z's contest also. Don't forget, I have a regular schedule of stuff that I put up. I will have the regular schedule with the new shows added append on the top of the notes in the community tab in the next couple of days. I just need to finish it off. Any announcements about things going on or shows not appearing show up in my community tab, so please make sure you check it out every once in a while. And please check out my full website, thekirkhamreport.com, as it begins its metamorphosis into more than it is now, and I have a lot more planned to come, and I hope that you guys will be here for the ride. Until next time, hopefully not so long-winded, I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. Have a great summer and a great week. Ciao, baby.